What's up, everybody? This is Chris Surratt bringing another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicles. On today's show, we're going to talk about some fantastic news coming out of suburban Detroit, where General Motors is about to open up a battery cell plant. So hopefully there's going to be some great jobs there. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Hurricane Milton. We're going to first talk about the evacuation situation coming out of there, and then pretty much talk about its impact on the automotive industry down there in Florida. So let's jump right into it. First up, like always, I talk about the automotive industry when it comes to factories and plants and all of the jobs lost, specifically in Michigan, because Michigan is the hub for the automotive industry one way or another. Well, we have some fantastic news. It seems that General Motors has decided that they're going to build a battery cell plant. And this is something that we are in dire need of. We're going to be in dire need of more of these battery cell plants because, of course, you need the battery cell plants for the EV generation of cars. It's going to be pretty much the future technology-wise. So, of course, we need more of these battery cell plants. I'm glad that General Motors has decided to build one, and I'm glad that they're building it in Michigan because that's the central hub of the automotive industry. So, let's check this story out real quick. And, of course, we're going to our favorite automotive news. GM plans $145 million battery cell plant in suburban Detroit. Construction is expected to start next month as GM's Global Technical Center campus in Warren, Michigan. Cell production is expected to start in 2027. This is from October 8th by Kurt Nagel. General Motors is planning to build a $145 million battery cell prototype plant at its Global Technical Center campus near Detroit in Warren, Michigan. Construction is expected to start next month on a battery cell development center, which will help the automaker speed up electric vehicle battery cell development, lower costs, and resolve manufacturability concerns before mass production, according to GM. Cell production is expected to start in 2027. We are focused on developing battery technologies that improve vehicle performance, lower costs, and enhance the ownership experience for our customers, GM spokeswoman Tara Coonan said in a statement emailed to Cranes. We can confirm plans for a new battery cell development center on our Global Technical Center campus in Warren, Michigan that will do just that. Plans for the center come as GM switches gears on its EV battery manufacturing strategy after a host of production issues on the Ultium platform, which the company announced will be rebranded. The idea behind the center is to find middle ground in the manufacturing process between the prototype phase and mass manufacturing, especially as battery cell technology evolves rapidly. Kurt Kelty, a former Tesla executive now serving as GM's vice president of battery cell and pack, shed more light on the project Tuesday during a presentation for investors. This capability really sets GM apart from our competitors, Kelty said of the planned facility. As you scale battery prototyping during development to production, you have to scale up by multiple orders of magnitude, but some jumps are more significant than others. By adding production capability during battery cell development, we can take more manageable steps and more quickly streamline processes, understand costs, and identify potential issues that may come up in production. The planned facility to be constructed by Wallbridge would span 165,000 square feet next to the Wallace Battery Cell Innovation Center, according to project plans presented last month to the Warren Planning Commission, which approved the plan. The plant will be located on the site of the vehicle test track near the southeast corner of 13 Mile and Mound Roads, according to project documents submitted to the Planning Commission, obtained by Cranes through an open records request. The projected investment is listed at $145.5 million. At a production peak of 3,600 battery cells per year, the factory would be for prototype EV batteries, not mass production. Michael Serdick, Vice President at Ghaffari Associates LLC, told planning commissioners on behalf of client GM. They're trying out new battery cell chemicals and processes, and they actually will manufacture in small quantities batches of different battery cells that will then move into battery packs for some prototype vehicles, Serdick said. A GM representative told commissioners that the project is not expected to create a significant number of new jobs. Kelty said the new facility will not only enable GM to speed up development, but also help manufacturing partners become more efficient. This increased capability can help us close the learning gap between cell development and mass production while reducing development times by up to a year from concept to launch of new battery technology, Kelty said. The Battery Cell Development Center will enable us to prove out new GM concepts, which can then be shared with our manufacturing partners to accelerate their ability to provide production cells to us. The investment represents more expansion at the Warren Tech Center, where GM has plowed $2.5 billion over the past 5 years. GM President Mark Ruiz said in August, as its campus in the suburbs grows, GM is preparing to vacate its longtime headquarters in the Renaissance Center for less space as the marquee office tenant of the new $1.4 billion Hudson development. All right, so a lot to unpack there. Not as positive as I originally thought. I hope that it would be more jobs, more opportunities specifically for Michigan, because they've lost a lot of factory jobs. So that's disappointing. But in the overall spiel of things, it is still a positive. We definitely need to ramp up battery cell technology here in the States. We definitely have to stop relying on China and other countries for our batteries for our EV vehicles. So this is definitely still a plus. Definitely still implementing Michigan and Detroit as the mecca for the automotive industry. So that's not going to change. Sounds like these are good things because this is still leading us into the future. We have to go about making sure that we concrete ourselves in this industry of EV vehicles, and the way to concrete ourselves in it excuse me, is to make sure that we are steadfast in the production of them, steadfast in the production of the batteries and the cars themselves and all the parts that these vehicles are going to need, because if we do that, we'll definitely be able to make sure that we have the factory jobs and the work for people here in the States. And that's what's important for me. Truly unfortunate they say that not many new jobs be created by this. But still an absolute positive, still something that we can hang our heads on, that the United States is moving forward when it comes to producing EV vehicles and producing batteries, because of course the battery is the most important part of an EV vehicle. There's no two ways around it. That's why they have the greatest warranties and stuff like that. These are the most important thing about these vehicles. So we have lost some battery companies from the US. Some have moved over to Sweden. We talked about that not too long ago, but this is a positive. This is a positive thing. We're innovating. We're building towards a situation where we can create these batteries here in the States, and it just helps when it comes to making sure that the United States is a great competitor in the EV market. The EV market is going to be, of course, dominated by China. Dominated because they have worked on it so long. They've already advanced so far. They've already, cut costs by innovation and labor, as it were, just being in China. And, China has the upper hand when it comes to EV vehicles. We have to work extremely, extremely hard to catch up. We have to work extremely, extremely hard to catch up. General Motors is working towards that. Other companies are trying to partner up with Nissan and stuff like that, just about the battery situation, because the batteries are the cornerstones of these vehicles. And you start with the heart. You build the heart and you build around the heart. And I just hope that this is not a one-time thing. I definitely hope that Stellantis and All the other companies, all the other American automakers do the same thing. Start branching off and building, factories for battery cell production. Personally, EV production all by itself. We need that. We need those opportunities. We need that leverage when it comes to competing with China in market share for EV vehicles. We just need to go harder when it comes to that. All right, let's keep going. So, next up, of course, and we're going to finish out with the Hurricane Milton situation. Now, Hurricane Milton is not an automotive problem per se. It will affect the automotive industry just like Hurricane Helen did. It's going to mess with dealerships. It's going to be a situation where flooding is going to cause EV vehicles to explode. So I'm hoping that the Floridians are aware. They're putting their EV vehicles outside, not leaving them in their homes so they explode. That was a big story that we did. But we will talk about, of course, we'll talk about how the Hurricane Milton is going to affect the automotive industry. But let's talk about the whole evacuation of Florida, because I personally have several friends. Young lady I used to know, Levita, she's staying there, and a lot of my friends that live in Florida, I guess a majority of them stay on the west part of Florida, where they don't think that they're going to see the brunt of the storm, so they're staying. I have several friends that are staying. I have several friends that I've talked to that said they're staying. They packed up, and they don't want to lose their homes. They don't want to evacuate. And I think it's weird. I think you should get up out of there. I think you should go to shelters immediately. But hey, Floridians are different. My friends are different, so I just pray that they're safe. But we're gonna go to CBS. We're gonna check out their story about the evacuation, and then we're gonna read a story that talks about its effect on the automotive industry out there in Florida. So let's check this out real quick.
Calls to evacuate coastal areas got a whole lot more urgent in the last 24 hours. Forecasters say Hurricane Milton could be the worst storm in western Florida in more than a century. Jonathan Vigliotti is in Tampa. Jonathan, good morning.
Nate, good morning to you. And I was struck by what Stephanie just said, 15 feet of storm surge. So what does that even look like? This is the aftermath from 7 feet of storm surge, just a sliver of it brought on by Hurricane Helene, which killed more than 14 people in this area alone. And it made landfall about, 200 miles to our north. Milton, its current track still not entirely clear, but one thing is certain, it will bring with it, as I clear my throat, incredible wind capable of lifting up all of this debris and sending it violently like projectiles.
Officials in Florida did not hold back Monday.
If you're going to call the police and expect the police to come and save you, you better evacuate, because we're not going to be able to.
Forecasters warned of potentially life-threatening storm surges as high as 15 feet, compounding the danger debris from Helene that still litters the state, which could pose a hazard when floodwaters and high winds return.
We do not have to have any loss of life as a result of this storm, because all you need to do is go to higher ground.
Some have taken those warnings to heart, with heavy traffic out of the Tampa Bay area. But at Tampa General Hospital, the region's only level 1 trauma center, many patients are too unwell to be evacuated. The hospital has erected a removable watertight flood wall around its exterior to keep the storm surge at bay. It served the hospital well when Helene's 7-foot surge slammed the area, but there are still concerns as Milton approaches.
If we had a 12-foot surge, does that change anything on how this performs? It shouldn't, but we don't know that yet.
Tampa International Airport is set to shut down operations this morning. We spoke to a family that was headed to California for a wedding, but just missed their flight, and now they're stranded.
I'm just thinking about how we had all these great intentions and now they've been substituted by survival.
And a lot of...
They should have left days ago. You know about this. It just, Floridians are different, man. They tough.
People in survival mode. This Category 5, the first Category 5 in the Gulf in more than 20 years, radicalized by warm water brought on by climate change. At least 9 counties at this point under a mandatory evacuation, including Lee County, 2 hours south.
My whole thing is that, please, everybody be safe. If you're going to stay, hunker down. Make sure that you're boarded up and you got walls like this hospital does, because they saying it's gonna be worse than Hurricane Helen, and that was just not that long ago. Florida's getting hit bad. This must, I don't know. Hurricane season it's like, for me, it's like fire season out here in California. When I first moved out here from Indiana, and I'm out here and I'm working outside, and all of a sudden I thought it was snowing, and I'm looking at him like, dang, it's too hot to be snowing. What is this? And I look at the dude that I'm working with like, hey, cuz, how's it snowing out here? He laughed so hard at me. Tapped the dude next to him, hey, this dude said it's snowing. They laughed so hard at me. Like, that ain't snow, that's ash from the fires. It's fire season. We're gonna see ash falling all over you. I'm like, man, that's crazy, And then I learned about fire season out here in California and how it destroys homes and areas all the time. And then that makes me think about this hurricane season out in Florida and on the Gulf Coast. And I'm like, you should prepare for that kind of thing, If you've been duly warned, like these people were duly warned, and like that police officer said, don't be calling the police because you were duly warned. You need to take your butt to a shelter, find somewhere else to be. It's not safe. And I just pray that y'all survive. I pray that y'all are okay. But you see how that highway was just packed with people. So, and I saw another interview earlier today about it, and the young lady was talking about, well, we didn't leave early enough, so now we're stuck. Man, you'd be stuck on that highway. You made a mistake not leaving earlier. Now, we can talk about cars and the automotive industry out that way. It's going to get destroyed again, just like Hurricane Helen did. It's going to set some EV vehicles on fire with the salt water and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be interesting. But we're going to check out a quick story about what some dealerships are thinking about when it comes to Hurricane Milton coming their way. I'm gonna let y'all out of here because I gotta make some phone calls, gotta make sure all the people that I have talked to in Florida are cool. Alright, so of course, automotive news. This is from October 9th, which is today, and it's written by CJ Moore. Auto auctions in Florida cancel sales days. More dealerships close ahead of Hurricane Milton. Hurricane Milton prompted wholesale auto auction providers to cancel planned sales days at certain storm-warned locations in Florida this week. Now, I use auto auctions all the time. Of course, I have an automotive sale. I sell cars. I have like an online dealership. So if you need a car, holler at me. But yeah, I use auto auctions all the time. They're awesome. Several wholesale auto auctions and more dealerships in Florida closed October 8th and October 9th in anticipation of Hurricane Milton's arrival. Milton was downgraded to Category 5 strength earlier October 8th, but returned to Category 5 later in the day. It will forecast to retain major hurricane status, Category 3 or greater, and expand in size on its approach to the west coast of Florida October 9th, the National Hurricane Center said. Ted Smith, president of the Florida Automobile Dealers Association, said on October 9th that his group's members are focused today on protecting dealership showrooms, service bays, and cars. My dealers have a high priority to protect their vehicles, and they obviously are focused on their staff, employees, and their families, Smith said. We're very concerned about our coastal stores. One Orlando dealer told Smith on October 9th that he was placing sandbags around his showroom for protection. You're going to need more than that, player. They're taking this very seriously, Smith said. The dealers must prepare for wind and water. The electric vehicles are of special concern, he said. The EV issue is a large one because the EVs are so prone to fire, so there's a lot of concern about any dealers who might have EVs and getting them out of any possible area where water could cause fire, Smith said. The association collected members' cell phone numbers, and Smith said he plans to check in October 10th with dealers in areas with high levels of hurricane damage. Store closings. Meanwhile, used vehicle retail giant CarMax Inc. closed 22 of its 24 retail stores plus 2 auction locations in Florida as of the afternoon of October 9th, a spokesperson told Automotive News via email. That's up from 5 store closures in Tampa, Fort Myers, Naples, Bradenton, and Clearwater on October 8th. Penske Automotive Group of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, has dealerships in Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and Orlando. Spokesperson Tony Porten told Automotive News the group is taking typical precautions to secure the properties and inventory and working with our team members so that they can secure their properties and take care of family too. Alan Wildstein, president of Alan J. Automotive Network with more than half a dozen stores in Sebring and Wauchula, Florida, said he closed all his inland central Florida dealerships the afternoon of October 8th through October 11th. Wildstein said the closure gave his team time to prepare for the hurricane. The group's storm preparation also included returning customer cars, moving vehicles away from buildings in anticipation of flying debris, and ensuring generators were in order. We have an emergency action plan to stay in touch with our associates, and we have phone chains that they have with their teams, Wildstein said in an interview. We did that ahead of time, we always do. Unfortunately, we had a lot of practice with these storms. The group has a team that helps employees board their homes and also opens its Sebring corporate office to house employees who live in mobile homes or other places that might not safely withstand storm winds. Alan J. Automotive's leadership team plans to assess each store midday on October 10th. We will try to open for business as soon as possible, as soon as the storm has passed, Wildstein said. Auctions canceled. Wholesale auto auction chains also closed several locations in Florida and canceled sales this week ahead of Milton. Auto auction provider America's Group planned to close its Tampa Bay and Jacksonville locations October 9th, a spokesperson told Automotive News via email. Odessa, Tampa, and Odessa, Sarasota will be closed October 9th and 10th, with vehicle pickups and drop-offs unavailable both days. According to alerts on the Odessa website, Odessa, Orlando, and Odessa, Jacksonville will close early October 9th and remain closed October 10th. All sales this week at Manheim, Tampa, Manhattan Street, Pete in Clearwater, Manheim, Fort Myers, and Manheim, Lakeland were canceled, according to messages on Manheim's website. Other Manheim locations in Florida will hold digital-only sales, it said. All right. So, now, mind you, they've had time to prepare because they just went through Hurricane Helen. So, Hurricane Helen should have been able to teach them some things and allow them to prepare, like the hospital. They already had the walls up, so that they were already kind of prepared. But the bigger issue, of course, is the loss of sales for those days, the destruction of the dealerships. You know they're going to have some kind of destruction, the destruction of their inventory. They're going to have some damage to the cars. They spoke about worrying about EVs and them catching fire, so of course they had to find some place or some way to keep their EV vehicles that they have in stock from exploding or catching fire due to salt water. So it's going to be a horrible upward climb. It's going to be a horrible situation come October 10th once it's all said and done for most of these dealerships. You hate that they have to close. You hate that it more than likely, well, I don't know how that works when companies have to close because of some natural disaster. I assume that the employees will get some kind of pay, but if they don't, we're talking about them losing days of work. We're talking about salesmen losing days of being able to sell cars, which, probably when it's all said and done, they probably will get that back with selling cars because of all the cars are going to be destroyed. But it's just a horrible situation. You talk about getting customers' cars back that are in the service department. So probably giving customers their cars back before they even fixed. We're talking about days where the service mechanics or technicians are not working on cars, so they're not making money. And then, the expenditure of money that they're going to use just to help those employees with their housing situations, boarding up homes and all those type of things. So kudos to them for being proactive. Kudos to them for making sure that they take care of their people. It's going to be a long road ahead. As we saw the damage from Helen, we expect this damage to be double that. We expect this situation to double in the number of, people who lose their lives and damage to dealerships and damage to homes. So it's just a horrible situation. Natural disasters always are. They're hard to deal with because you don't see them coming usually, but let's thank God that he sent a less aggressive hurricane first, so they had a little bit of idea on their preparation. But of course, they go through a hurricane season, so they obviously have to prepare for this to some degree anyway. But we just have to pray. We just pray for Levita. We pray for the Tiffany's. We pray for all our friends out in Florida that are going to hunker down and stay. We applaud the ones that have left and went to shelters and went elsewhere. And we just hope that we can deal with this type of thing and we can come back from it, because it's going to affect a lot of people that way, whether it be from their employment to their housing to their automobiles. They will be affected. All right, guys, that's my show. As always, thank you for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe to the show. I'm your boy Chris. Please hit me in the DM if you got any ideas. Please hit me in the Cashapp if you want to support the show. And I'm out. Peace.